Well, the top brass at IBM flew into town this week.
They certainly did. Global CEO Ginny Rometty and her head of Global Markets Martin Schroeter, in charge of all IBM's revenue, profit and client satisfaction, talked to a packed audience on stage with clients including Westpac CEO Brian Hartzer and Woodside CEO Peter Coleman. Well, we're getting our heads around the cloud but on the sidelines I asked Martin Schroeter about all the excitement around the hybrid cloud.
Yeah, I mean, hybrid is something that we've been talking about for quite a while, because the world we see and the world our clients tell us about is really a world where innovation is going to live in lots of places and data is going to live in lots of places. So let's just recognize that if I'm going to run a business, and some of that is going to be on my own cloud, but I'm also going to use applications and sit on other clouds, that we're going to have to create a set of tools and a set of processes and ways to monitor all of that, because the complexity that's being created needs to be managed, right, for lots of reasons.
You come out here with your global CEO, Ginny Rometty. She was on stage with two CEOs, Brian Hartzer from Westpac and Peter Coleman from Woodside. Interesting that this space is capturing their focus at that level.
Yeah, well, they have a business imperative, and different industries have different business imperatives, but the fact is, and I think Brian talked a little bit about this, every industry, and this is true not just in banking, but every industry is always going to be under a need to be more productive, right? None of us are working in this, I can do more with more. It's always, I'm going to have to do more with less, which means that we're always in this mode of how do I make sure I have the most optimized infrastructure, if you will, in order to run my business process. And in particular in banking and other regulated industries, the amount of money they have to spend to follow those regulations, it keeps growing and growing and growing. So there's always a productivity focus in every industry, and Brian talked a bit about his. On the Woodside story, it's really about how they use their data to get insights about how to run their business. And so I think what Peter was excited about was, I fundamentally changed the way the business runs, I fundamentally changed the way we do work, and I have insights from my data, and that's, again, the world that we see as well, that in this world where you have access to cloud, so you have access to compute power that you would have never had before, and you have your data organized in a way that allows you to get insights, now you can start to apply those tools to really solve the business problems they have.
Yes, interesting that Peter Coleman was talking about asking 5 of a senior team that had been on a multi-billion-dollar project for the lessons learned, and he got no answers because they didn't have the data to understand.
Well, they didn't have the data, and I think as he said, as he described on stage today, like many of us, there is a lot of institutional knowledge, right? In Woodside, we're 109 years old. There's a lot of institutional knowledge, and what he's managed to do is find a way to capture that institutional knowledge so that it actually stays in the business, and the people who are there now can learn from everything else that has happened in the past. So it's again, that's the business problem. There is a technology solution to that, but it really is a business problem that he was trying to solve. How do I capture and keep the institutional knowledge from who it's going to retire, right?
So that's where Watson comes in, which has been such a part of IBM for years, but Watson has developed as well.
It has. So Watson's evolved quite a bit, and I think Brian talked a little bit about how he uses it in a call center, a very logical use for something like Watson. A call center is really built on text-to-speech analyzer. It's built on, that's one API, one application programming interface. It's built on sentiment analysis so that you can understand. It's built on contextualizing all of that. So you string all these things together, and all of a sudden you have a call center. So we've evolved Watson to do a lot more, and we've evolved Watson to be consumable in smaller and smaller pieces.
Watson itself has been very interesting in what it's been able to do in the broadcast sector as well.
Oh yeah, we've had a lot of success here, and I think there's a lot more to come. And Wimbledon is a good example, and the Masters similar. So as an example, we filmed every shot in the Masters last year, every golf shot, all 90 golfers, and we filmed Wimbledon for every match. We then were able to, and that's a massive amount of data, right?
But Watson can analyze the money shot.
Watson can create them. Watson can create the highlights from around. So it's not so much about how do I push out some content that people may or may not be interested in. Now the consumers, the clients and the customers who the Masters tournament and Wimbledon want to reach can go and say, here's my favorite tennis player. I want to see how they did today. It's phenomenal.
So that's the data analytics side. You've also made a very big bet this year. You've bought Red Hat for $33 billion. What does that deliver for you?
So Red Hat is, I think most people know Red Hat as sort of open source, right? And it is. It's the leading open source operating system in the world. And what our clients were telling us over and over again, because we've been a partner with Red Hat for a long, long time, but our clients were telling us that, when we think about our journey to cloud, we've started moving some workloads here and there, and we're testing things out. But in order for us to really get comfortable and confident that we can move, say, our critical business processes or our critical business applications into a cloud environment, we have to know that we're not going to get locked in. And the clouds that they saw, the clouds that they're seeing, are proprietary. So the more you consume, the more you're locked into a single environment. And maybe that's okay as you experiment, but it's not okay if you have your critical business processes locked in.
Red Hat drives your hybrid offering. Now, you've called it the Switzerland of open operating systems. But equally, you've got Microsoft Azure with Oracle, you've got AWS also competing in the hybrid cloud, also saying that they could bring customers' clouds together. Why are you different?
Well, it's actually substantially different, I think, from what we see and from what our clients see. So first on Red Hat, it's an open system, right? And the platform on which you build OpenShift will run on all of these clouds, right? So which is critical in a hybrid world. That's an open system with an open platform, can run anywhere, our cloud as well. What we see out of some of the other cloud vendors is not an open system and an open platform that can run anywhere, but rather a willingness to take their proprietary platform and let you run it in your data center. That's not a consistent definition of hybrid. That just says you can use my proprietary system where you are. Fundamentally different equation. So our view of hybrid is open. Our view of hybrid is take a platform that can run anywhere, and that's why Red Hat being Switzerland is so important. That's different from take my stuff and I'll let you run it in your data center.
So how do you think, when you're the top three, really, how do you think this is going to work out in the market over the next, say, 5 or 10 years? Because there's a lot of contestable space here, isn't there?
There is a lot of contestable space. I mean, I think when clients think about their journeys to cloud, again, what's really, really important is that they're not locked into a platform, because they know that innovation is going to happen in lots of places. As the infrastructure providers, we're one, as the infrastructure providers get used to the idea of open as the future, I think that that's where we play, and I think that plays very well with our clients. And then as the application vendors realize that the ecosystem around open is really powerful, then they can get access to innovation as well. That continues to drive open. So I do think that the path to hybrid is very much an open path, and I don't think that's going to change.
I'm interested in the trade of data itself. How significant is this big deal that has been done between the US and Japan?
Yeah, I think that the great trade story that's not being talked about is exactly this. It's digital trade. The digital trade world is the world that's growing 4 times faster than the rest of the economy. The digital trade world is the world that's creating hundreds and hundreds of thousands of jobs that we need to prepare people for. So in order for that to be realized over the long term, we need digital trade provisions that are as robust as we have for physical goods.
But you see this as a gold standard?
I do. I think we see the U.S., Japan, like we see the USMCA agreement that is between U.S., Mexico, U.S., Canada. We see that as the gold standard because it has a few features that are really, really important. Data's got to flow freely, no data localization mandates, and really importantly, both of these protect the source code. So no country can say, if you want to do business here, you have to give up your source code. We would never do it. We've never given up our source code or the algorithms that underpin it. So these features are really important for digital trade to continue to grow and robustly. We see those provisions in the U.S., Japan. We see those provisions in USMCA. And quite frankly, TPP, which Australia's part of, TPP has almost all of those provisions. It's been around a little bit longer, so it doesn't have the algorithm protection yet, but it's absolutely headed down the right path.
Martin Schroeter, so interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.